Welcome to New Life Live with Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's today's host, Becky Brown.
Hello, everyone. We are so glad that you joined us on this Monday. And with me is Chris Williams and Dr. Jacqui Mack-Harris. And I'm so grateful for both of you. I always take notes when you are on the program because you're so wise. And I love to hear what you have on your mind. And Jacqui, what is on your mind these days?
I was thinking about having difficult conversations. Some things I've been reading and some conversations I've been in have just had that at the forefront of my mind. Often we have something that we need to have a conversation with someone about, and we have the conversation in our head instead of with the person. So we are already prepared for the battle. And we go in guns a-blazing, for lack of a better term, and the other person isn't even aware we're coming. And so I think one of the things that gets in the way is our emotion. And emotion is important, and we need to not avoid it, but we also need to not be led around by the nose by our emotions. And so it's important when we have a hard conversation, it's important for us to find some peaceful space to do that in. Sometimes we need a mediator, a neutral person, or at the very least, a person that can hold space for both perspectives.
Yeah. Well, there is these critical conversations that we get in that we need to have. And I think that that's a good indicator, Jacqui, is that if we're replaying a conversation in our head over and over with another person, it's an indicator that we need to have this conversation with that person. Yeah. But we need to be careful about the story we're making up in our own head about the person or the conversation itself. Yeah. And to your point, it's the emotions that can get in the way of the clarity of what we're trying to communicate.
Absolutely.
I think our emotions can inform the importance or the clarity, but we don't want the emotions to rule the conversation.
Absolutely.
Or to hijack it. Yeah.
So sometimes it's important to just sit there and recognize what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And just be able to name that and know that. But we've been conditioned to ignore our bodies, to ignore our emotions, to get over it, forget about it, push it down. And because of that, we don't have a good track record with even knowing what we're feeling.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, the story we're telling ourselves, we're making up a story that is going to create more conflict and escalate the situation. Becky, I think one of the main reasons this is coming up for me is because we've been having such great conversations in my family. We're able...
I think, well, even to that point, I was just thinking, like you said, Chris, are rehearsing in their head. I need to tell them, and family kind of...
Okay, so when I have to have a hard conversation now, I will sit and figure out, I'm going to have that conversation in my head. It's natural. But I'm going to try to figure out my part of the conversation and not make up the story for the other person. Because what happens is we decide how they're going to respond, and then we either don't go to them or we go to them with that expectation that they're already mad at us, or they already have an attitude, or they already have a particular answer, and we're not giving an opportunity for that conversation to be what it could be.
Yeah. Well, and I think of three things here. It's that in critical conversations, I need clarity on what is this about? What are we actually talking about? What is mine? And what's my side of the street and my responsibility? And then I also need to let go and listen.
Yes.
That
let go and listen part, I say, be curious instead of furious.
I love it. I
love that. Well, we're going to be taking in a couple of hours of calls, and we're going to listen to you. We aren't rehearsing those conversations. We want to hear from you. 1-800-229-3000. We'll be right back after this break. We're glad that you joined us.
Some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal, they're just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. The Every Man's Battle Intensive can help.
After 7 years, he just, in one weekend, came back a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Intensive.
He said this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
The Every Man's Battle Workshop is being held online as a one-day event Saturday, April 13th. Don't wait for him to call. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
I'm Steve Arterburn with a New Life Moment. What are some good words that describe you? Are you smart, adventurous, compassionate? There are many great character traits to possess, but one of the most valuable character traits of them all is integrity. The dictionary says that integrity is a steadfast adherence to a strict ethical code. It's the state of being complete or undivided. Unfortunately, our hearts are too often divided. We all make errors, but the problem is that instead of admitting our mistakes, we hide them, cover them up, or lie about them. That's why I was amazed when I heard a story about a policeman who wrote himself a ticket. He was driving along when he realized he'd passed a school bus with its lights flashing. So he wrote himself a ticket carrying a fine of over $200 and 4 points on his driving record. I'm Steve Arterburn. For some help with the subject of integrity, visit newlife.com. And thanks for listening to this New Life Moment.
I love those New Life moments with Steve. He is still enjoying his sabbatical, only about a month left on it, but I did talk with him today, and he is getting some rest and relaxation, but also, you know, his brain doesn't stop anytime for more than about 15 minutes, I think. He's always got something that he's thinking about, but we're so grateful to have his wisdom and to share it with you. We are going to go to the calls, and we are going to talk with Jack, who's calls from Detroit, Michigan, and listens on the internet. Hello, Jack. We're so glad that you called. How can we help you today?
Thanks for taking my call. I'm calling from my granddaughter. She's 11, and she's been a great kid, smart, talented, and in recent months, she goes through these episodes, not sure what they're triggered by, where she'll just curl up in a ball, sometimes go in a closet, and sob uncontrollably. And we're just wondering what's going on and what we might do to help her.
Well, we can hear the concern in your voice, Jack, and it is concerning. And Jack, let's start with Chris and see what Chris would start with.
Well, Jack, I think the first thing is your instincts are right, is that oftentimes children will most readily communicate with their behavior, with their emotions, rather than with their words. And it does sound like something obviously deep and hurtful or painful is happening inside of her. And it's got to be really, really scary and obviously very concerning as her grandfather, who loves her so deeply, about what's happening. And oftentimes what needs to happen first is that she needs to be in a safe place or safe environment, and maybe even help given the words to start talking about what's happening on the inside of her.
Jack, when she goes into a closet or goes into a space by herself, is there, when it's over, when she comes out, is there any conversation?
Yeah, a little bit. She'll just say that she feels bad about herself, and has said that even when she's not in these spells. And, you know, she is 99% of the time a well-behaved child. And occasionally she'll need to be corrected, but she is not a bad child at all.
But somehow she has learned that something about her isn't good, or she's like the theme or the story she's making up or telling herself, or maybe the voice that she's hearing is saying she's bad in some way. She has some expectation or some assumption about what good is and what she should be doing. And sometimes that's coming out of young people looking at the people around them and seeing them as perfect. And so we're carrying this expectation that I'm supposed to be that way. People don't cry when someone dies. They don't cry around the child. And the child then ends up thinking, oh, well, if you're strong, you don't cry. And so then they feel really bad when they are crying. I wonder, too, if she's just a highly sensitive person. And some people are so sensitive to stimulation, all the different senses, whether it's sight, sound, smell, touch. They can be so sensitive that they get overstimulated more easily than someone who's not highly sensitive. And so what seems like just a normal average day at a normal average volume for most people is like on 100 for a highly sensitive person. And the way that they relieve that is to go away from all the noise, to go away from any commotion. Sometimes they just need to sneak away into a dark, quiet room. And so I wonder if she has a tendency to startle easily, if she maybe doesn't like chaos or struggles when she's told to do too many things at one time. Do you have a sense of whether she's shy or maybe highly sensitive?
Well, she is highly sensitive. I wouldn't say she's shy. She's very outgoing. But she is highly sensitive. And
so the highly sensitive nature, it's just a way of processing information. She processes sensory information at a higher level than maybe you do. But typically, if somebody in the family is highly sensitive, somebody else in the family is highly sensitive. And there are books on how to work with a highly sensitive child, but really it's giving her comfort and making space for those things that overwhelm her. And starting to have her have language to talk about that. Maybe getting a feelings words list, or the book How We Love has a list of soul words in it. And maybe How We Love Our Kids would be helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so. Jack, I'm kind of curious, have the parents had her assessed for anything, along this line, because what I'm concerned about is if something has happened to her that she hasn't been able to find the space or the words to say what happened, or maybe of some trauma that she's experienced. Is that part of her experience, Jack?
There's no trauma that I'm aware of. Normal, family things, as far as I know. We're not yellers in the family, so, but she may be modeling dealing with it by coping with it by herself. Mm-hmm. And so I guess a question is, do we just let her cry it out and then say, when you're ready to talk about it, let's talk about what you're feeling?
Well, Chris or Jackie, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's probably an option, but talking with her about what feels good. Like, would it be helpful if I sat here with you while you cry? Would you like a hug right now? Like, giving her some ideas or some options, but let her cry it out. What we, used to hear all the time was, stop crying, don't be a baby, you're too sensitive, and crying is a release. And so I say yes to letting her cry it out and to offering to be there to talk about it.
Well, and I think there is a key next step as well, and that is she does need to learn to find the words so that she is able to connect to the care of the adults around her or to express anything that is going on inside of her. And one of the avenues in which she can learn how to do that is through play therapy. Child play therapy is such a powerful tool that allows a child to take what's on the inside of them and put it on the outside in a tangible way, and then be able to start identifying and talking about it. I use this acronym for us as adults, but we want to help our children do this as well, and it's just AID. We need our aid when it comes to our emotional life, and that's an awareness that we have it, an awareness that something is going on inside of me, and that we can identify exactly what that is, and then we can disclose that to another human being. And so I believe that she needs that process. She needs that aid to be aware of what's going on the inside, to identify what it is, and to disclose that. And what that does is it gives her a greater sense of what we call agency or control in the moment. But I think the most important thing it does is it allows the adults and the caretakers around her to care for her well. And hopefully, like, if there does happen to be something in her past, if there does happen to be a trauma, and she's safe enough to talk about it, she can actually find the words to talk about it. And so I think
That's
play therapy
beautiful.
would be a great way to go there.
That is beautiful, Chris. Jack, we're going to send you a copy of How We Love Our Kids. And, like you said, Jacqui, the feeling words list, we have to have a feeling vocabulary or an emotional vocabulary. And it's great to teach your kids how to describe what's going on inside. Jack, you're a good grandfather to be checking in on her. And if there's anything that we can do, maybe we'll connect your son or daughter-in-law, whoever the parents are, with a family counselor. That could be a next step as well. We appreciate you calling. We're going to continue on with the calls, and we're going to take calls. So you can call us at 1-800-229-3000. We're going to talk with Bethany, who's calling us from Los Angeles, California, listens on KKLA. Hello, Bethany. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi, how are you? Thank you for taking my call. I had a question about, I'm in the process of getting a divorce, but I've always wondered if I'm doing the right thing. I was married for about 8 years before I stepped out of my marriage. I always had issues with my husband, and he was never there for me emotionally, and any time I brought things up to him, eventually they were thrown back in my face. And I, not to justify what I did, I will never do that, but I just want to know if I'm doing the right thing, because he never wanted to get counseling. He doesn't believe in that stuff, but now that I am okay with walking away, he says that I walk around selfish and that I don't care what I did.
Oh, Bethany, I can hear the pain. Jacqui, how can we help her?
Oh, Bethany, it sounds very much like you care. He is feeling his own pain, and so he can't connect with yours right now. Your question, though, is, am I doing the right thing? I don't have that answer for you. You have to walk through that process, but I'm wondering if you're doing this with a therapist. Do you have someone supporting you as you're moving through this transition?
I do have a therapist, but I just, no therapist has told me that, has scolded me or told me that I'm wrong, and I think that's what I'm looking for, is for someone to tell me what to do, because everybody has told me that, that they validate my feelings, and they say that I have the right to feel how I felt, but I think I was just looking for someone to tell me what to do to appease him, because he won't tell me.
To appease your husband?
Yeah.
But he won't tell you, right?
He said that I should know what he needs.
Without him actually saying what he needs?
Yeah, that mind reading thing,
Yeah.
Bethany, doesn't actually exist.
So, Bethany, was it right did I hear you correctly when you said, I'm waiting for someone to scold me?
Yes, because he says that. That's
okay.
He's against it.
Okay, well, the weapon that he is using against you is called shame. And so shame will love to attach it to our to our sins, to the affair. And I'm sure that you're carrying around a deep sense of that I'm a bad person because I had this affair. And we know that the affair is a deeply damaging thing. It's a deeply hurtful act. But we also want to do the work to separate our identity from the act. But what shame wants to do is wants to say that you're a bad wife, and not just that, you're a bad person. And so it's like and he wants to put that on you as well, because I'm sure he's feeling it himself in his own pain and doesn't know how to talk about his stuff. So you're in this horrible, what I call contagion of shame that is just pain. And we'll come back to it after the break because you hear the music there. But I want to talk a little bit more about what it means to release ourselves from the shame and yet still move responsibly forward in right action.
That'll be powerful. Bethany, hold on. We can hear your pain. We want to help you. We're going to get back right after this break. Thank you.
About 4 years ago is when I discovered my husband's addiction. I heard about New Life. It has been life-changing for me and for my husband both. It was direction when we were lost, and it was hope when we had none. The help that we received from New Life has been multifaceted. My husband did the Every Man's Battle workshop. We did the marriage weekend. We are avid listeners of the radio and TV programs, and I think those are awesome, wonderful resources. And, I think the people who support New Life financially are people that I'll never know. I'll never be able to thank them personally for the gift that they gave to us. I believe, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that their giving saved me, my husband, and our family from being torn apart.
To make your tax-deductible gift, visit newlife.com and click Donate. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or text NLM to 28950. That's NLM to 28950. Daniel Grossman on coaching.
Coaches are really focused on the future and helping people to develop those skills and those strategies to help them move forward in their life. A coach really partners with you to focus on things like personal growth or health goals, spiritual growth, helping you develop in your career or possibly strengthening your relationships or maybe even breaking free from a negative pattern.
If you need a coach for life, your career, relationships, your health and fitness, leadership, and more, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
Coaches use different techniques. Some like to use strategic questions and accountability, ultimately empowering you to take those next steps toward your goals.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE and talk to us about getting a New Life coach today.
I really believe that everyone can use a coach in their corner.
1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are talking with Bethany, who has had some heartbreak and just trying to make a crucial decision. And Chris, you're in the middle of explaining a very important concept about shame.
Well, first and foremost, the shame wants to convince us that we are bad, defective, irreparable people. Like we can't come back from this. This is kind of our nature and who we are. And oftentimes then we believe the only solution for that is punitive. It's punishment. It's kind of paying for our sins. But we just kind of know throughout human history, we can look back and just like, that just doesn't work. And thank God for Jesus, who interrupts that painful process and tells us very clearly that doesn't work. There does need to be a process of forgiveness, but even before that, of what we call repentance, which just means turning away. It's recognizing I've done this thing, or there's this thing inside of me, and I want it to be done differently. And so, Bethany, you have already told us that you are not a person who desires to have an affair or want to have an affair, and it also seems like and that your husband still wants to punish you for that, probably in his own pain. But what you need to do first is separate your identity from that act.
It's something you did, not something you are. Some might say you're an adulterer. No, that's not who you are. You are still a
Yeah.
child of the Most High King, right? You are still a lover of
That's the
Jesus.
thing is that after that happened, I got very close. I got a lot closer to my walk with God, and the fact that he sees that, he now says that that I'm walking around like I'm perfect, because I've told him that I'm choosing not to let this define me. But still, when I have these circle conversations with him all the time, I just go back to feeling so bad, and I doubt that moving forward is the wrong thing to do, and that somehow there's something else that I'm missing that I should do before, for lack of a better word, throwing in the towel.
Is he willing to do couples therapy?
He's never wanted to, because we've had issues prior to this, and he's never wanted to. I asked him for us to go to counseling years before this happened, and he refused. And
so sometimes after the affair, they realize how necessary it is. Have you asked him since?
Yes, I have. I've asked him to do it. He went maybe once or twice with me, but he didn't want to keep going because he said the counselor was attacking him and focusing on him when he should have been focusing on me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Becky.
Well, Bethany, we've helped so many ongoing arguments, right? I mean, it's even though I know that you can identify I did this thing wrong, and so it seems to circle around that. We know for a fact that couples, it's not the thing that you're fighting about. It's really what is the history behind that. And Jack and I just served at our Intimacy and Marriage Intensive, and we talk about how to have better conversations, and we can get you connected with a counselor in the area that knows how to have those conversations. But I think what she's asking you guys is what should she do next? So how can we direct her?
Well, I think here's the next best step. The next best step is coming back to him and letting him know, I want a healthy marriage. I also want you to be able to work through your pain, but we have to do the work. And so if you're not willing to, but if you're not willing to do the work, I'm going to need some separation. And then I would file for that legal separation.
I've done all of that. I've told him that I need, because I care about our marriage, I want the foundation to be built on something strong, and he just refuses to go to counseling, and therefore we've been separated for 2 years. But now I can't move.
So you've done all the things.
What you can.
So you've done all the things. You have an awareness of what happened. You identified it, right? And you disclosed, and then you went into work to recover and to change your behavior. Try couples therapy. He doesn't want to be there. And couples therapy can be tough, especially in an affair situation, because one person feels very strongly that this is all the other person's fault. And because there was the infidelity, they have something to point at. But it's never just one person's fault. Nothing that a person does means that they deserve to be cheated on. However, we are two people in a relationship. It's both people that are affecting the relationship. And if we're not both going to do work on it, it's always going to be lopsided.
Yeah, if he's refusing to participate in the marriage, what you're doing is honoring his choice.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough, Bethany. It's so tough.
And it's not going to necessarily feel good. There's not necessarily a sense of peace or a relief because you're making the right choice. Sometimes making the right choice is still really hard and really uncomfortable.
That's so true. Bethany, we will be praying for you. We're going to get you connected with, I'm going to send you a Healing is a Choice, because I think that can help in this healing process, but also with the group. Some people around you that are speaking truth and life into you. Our life recovery groups do that. It can be part of your healing journey. It's so powerful to have people around you when you feel so isolated in one of the most difficult parts of your journey. And we hope that that will be helpful. We will be praying for you. We're going to continue with calls after this break.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. If you didn't know it, you will know now. We have an Every Man's Battle podcast, and it drops every Monday. We have a new episode. JJ West and Doug Barnes have conversations all around the topic of Every Man's Battle. It's not just on sexual integrity. It's literally on a man's integrity. You get your podcasts, and we would love for you to subscribe and like that and get the word out to other people. It just could be the thing that begins your own journey on sexual integrity, or just as integrity as a man. I mean, it would be great. We've heard some great testimonies from people who've heard all over the world the podcast, so we just want to let you know about it as well. We're going to go back to the calls, and we are going to talk with Brenda, who's calling us from Fairfax, Virginia, listens on WAVA. Hello, Brenda. Thanks for calling. How can we help you?
Hello, yes. On August 2022, I was given some medication for depression, but I never took it because what I think is that I have burnout. So I'm calling to check, to ask, what are the differences between burnout and depression, and if taking depression medication is a good solution for burnout?
Well, it's a great question, Brenda. There's a lot of people that are asking about this. Jacqui, let's start with you.
Hi, Brenda. I think it's great that you are trying to be attuned and think more broadly about what's going on with your body. I think the signs of depression and the signs of burnout can be really similar, as the signs of anxiety and the signs of burnout can be really similar. Just depends on the person and how they manifest emotion. I think one of the key signs is that depression can take you into a dark place. It can make you feel hopeless, sometimes worthless. You feel sad and down and depressed most of the days, fatigue, lack of energy, lack of desire to eat, or maybe eating too much, hard time sleeping, or not sleeping enough. All of those things are also possible with burnout. So I think really you have to ask yourself some questions about your lifestyle, like what is going on in your life, because sometimes depression is situational, and you may be depressed because you're burnt out.
Yeah.
That's a good distinction.
Yeah, if you think of depression as a big umbrella, And burnout is a part of depression. It's one expression of depression. But I do think that, and I think medication will help either way, because it's, our antidepressant medications are hitting a particular neurotransmission in the brain specifically that helps with usable energy. And all depression comes with a decrease of energy. And so whether it come in the form of burnout, it can come in the form of grief. It can, and there also is biological aspects to it. A person can just struggle with, again, lack of usable energy in the brain and have episodic or periodic depression, or could have continual depression. And so all the medication doesn't differentiate between what type. It just says, hey, here's some more usable energy in the brain for you so that you can do the things. Now, Brenda, I think it's really important that you are able to identify the difference between something that would be biologically driven and something that would be behaviorally driven. And the reason for that is because your course of action may be a little bit different. So if you know that maybe burnout is what led you to this place where you're feeling down, where you're lacking motivation, where concentration is out the window, and you just don't feel like doing much and it kind of feels blah, well, that points to a few factors that what led to burnout. We have to reverse engineer that back to what led me to this place. And I know as a person who has become professionally burnt out a couple times in my life, I had to learn the real hard truths about boundaries around my work. I had to learn real hard truths and important truths that God is my provider. I am not. I just get to participate in that. I had to really work with the type of anxiety that I carry in the world that rips out my energy. And so all of these become hints and clues on how to balance our life a little bit better, a little bit easier, so that we maintain and we protect one of the most important resources in our life, and that is our energy. And there's 3 ROs that I talk about: a return on investment, an ROI, a return on time, which is an ROT, and a return on energy, which is an ROE. In our life, I guarantee you that the most scarce and important resource in there will be our E. We have to be very, very aware of what our return on energy is.
And often we are expending energy in places and experiences that don't have a return on energy. And so you're constantly putting out energy, but you're not being replenished. So your tank is empty. And if it's relational, that can lead to feeling down and hopeless, and it just kind of drags you. So I love what Chris said about the reverse engineering of your situation. Like, now that you're here, let's take a look in the rear view. How did we get here? That's going to inform what you do going forward. What are the changes that need to be made? But I think getting to understand what you feel on a regular day-to-day basis can be helpful too. You might have come to this place because you weren't aware that you were becoming burnt out. And so if you daily check in with yourself, I have 4 mindfulness questions. What do I feel? Where do I feel it in my body? Why do I feel that way? And what do I need? And if you get in the habit of asking yourself those questions, you can start to feel something in your body and then be able to name it. Oh, I'm feeling exhausted. Oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable with this conversation. I should end it. And then we can start to institute the boundaries once we have some idea of how we feel in the world and in engaging with other people. But sometimes the medication is necessary for a bit of time to get back the energy that you need neurologically so that you can start to do some of the treatments that could make you feel better and reduce the burnout.
That's really good. I want to repeat those questions because I think they're really important. I need these. 1, what do I feel? 2, where do I feel it? Why do I feel? Number 3. And number 4, what do I need?
What do I need? And I believe that the first, the what do I need is a look inside first. Like, what do I need that I can do for me?
Yeah.
Maybe I need to go have a conversation with someone. But then after, we are created for relationships. So then secondarily, look into your relationships and the resources that are there to get some of those needs met once you've realized you don't have the resource inside, or it's a relational need.
That's good.
I love that you asked her to repeat that. Brenda, I hope that that's helpful to you. And I actually think Boundaries would be a good book to send her, because this is what we're talking about, is really doing that investment of time, looking back. And, it's amazing too, because if you pick up the phone, make the appointment, and then you don't do what they said, to ask yourself, what is keeping me from doing the questions for that reason too. But, Chris, you were talking about depression is an umbrella.
Yes.
And I know that that is a confusing thing for people, because they can feel depressed. It can have roots somewhere else. How do they determine that?
Well, I think it may take some time, but a couple of things is that the depression that is biological is sort of like, it's what we call episodes or episodic. And oftentimes there's not a trigger or a precursor for it. There's just like, oh man, I just kind of lost energy and I lost hopefulness, and I kind of went down. The lights went out and I went dark, and I don't know why.
Yeah. And
then we need to be able to look at our family history. We need to look, is there genetic components to it? I make this joke about that, I come from a long line of Irish drunks, and, men in our depression crawls, because depression can't run. Right. So depression crawls in my family history, especially among us men. So
Great.
I have to really pay attention to that. But the other aspect of it is again, there's a relationship between anxiety-driven depression. And that is, if we work off of anxiety for too long of a period of time, we burn up the energy and it drops into depression. There's trauma-driven depression, which is oftentimes our trauma-versaries.
Yeah. Having
or
a
losses,
therapist to
grief.
walk through those things would be really helpful.
There's so many different factors that can affect that energy.
I also think spending the day with the two of you and Steve Arterburn at our Emotional Freedom Online Intensive could be a great way to discover, where is this affecting your life? Whether it is depression, maybe you're stuck in grief, maybe there is trauma, but it is doing that inspection. I want you to, Chris and Jacqui, as you've already heard, and if you're taking notes, you might have to replay the episode so you can get some more details, because I've been writing them down like crazy. But maybe you'll join us. You'll make the choice. Come to Emotional Freedom Intensive. You'll hear from Jacqui, Chris, and Steve, and it could make all the difference in your world. We'll be right back after this.
We all face days where life throws us a curveball and our routines or plans get disrupted. Things we wanted to do are forced to take a backseat to the unexpected demands of the day. If you normally listen to New Life Live on a radio station, well, you might not be able to that day. And on these hectic days when you're feeling stressed or frazzled, hearing the sound of counsel given on New Life Live is just what you need to navigate the unexpected things of life.
Every time I'm troubled or I have a problem, I'll cut on New Life, and there's always something that is said that is helpful to me.
By listening, I have learned more than I can ever express about how God wants me to live.
Download the New Life app for the easiest way to listen wherever you are and at a time that's convenient for you, or watch the show on our YouTube channel. You can even subscribe to our podcast from your favorite podcast provider. You never have to miss a day of New Life. Wherever you are, we are.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
Your ministry has saved my life.
If you struggle with emotional hurt, family, or marriage problems, the pit of depression, or the pain of addictions, we can help.
I'm down 100 pounds now from what I was.
Our treatment programs provide clinically appropriate solutions from licensed professionals, all in a biblical framework.
I have had problems with alcohol. I think God has ordained this place to be His.
You don't have to be a prisoner of your pain. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
She tells me that I'm a new man, and I feel like a new man.
It worked for me, and it can work for them too.
This time it is different.
If you're ready to take the first step towards genuine spiritual and emotional healing, call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. God can open the door to a better tomorrow Call 1-800-639-5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. I know many of you listen at different times, and you will replay this episode so you can take notes. But if you want to call us, we take calls Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 1-800-229-3000. And we would love to hear from you. We're going to go back to with Jacqui, who's calling us from Texas. Grateful for our YouTube family. Hopefully you will like it and subscribe there. That gets the word out about New Life, and we're able to help more people. Jacqui, how can we help you today?
Hi. My question is for one of my friends. She is a Christian, and she's been married for over 15 or 20 years, I think. And she calls me weekly talking about how she's so frustrated with her husband. No particular reason. She just says that they are like roommates. They've gone to counseling, and she's done work on herself, but she's just saying that she wants a divorce. But because she's a Christian, she doesn't want to go down that path. But I'm single, and she calls me with all of the questions, and I really don't have a way to help her. I just listen to her. So I thought I'd call today to ask for your advice on how to help my friend who really wants to get out of her marriage and live the rest of her life as a single person.
So she wants to get out of her marriage and live her life as a single person? That's her plan, is to stay single?
Yeah, she wants to just be single because she says that her marriage is like roommates, and they, pay bills together. They do all these things, but she feels like there's no life in her marriage. And I never have a suggestion for her or anything to do, but she just calls me weekly talking about something he did. And it could be as simply as he didn't take out the trash today. It's just basic things, but she is so depressed and not satisfied in her marriage that I'm just a listening ear.
There's a book called How We Love that I think could be helpful for her to kind of get to a deeper understanding of who she is and how she's experiencing relationship, and maybe get a bit of an understanding about who he is. And if it's something where you guys are talking weekly, you could read the book too, and then that would give you something to talk about and bounce ideas off of, because it's about the individual as much as it is about the relationship.
And sometimes, misery can look for a reason, and it'll find it. So if I'm a miserable person, I at least want there to be a good reason why I'm miserable. And if I don't want to look at myself as just a person who's miserable, because no one wants to admit they're miserable, right. So then I can point to everyone else. But if there is this pattern of her wanting out of the marriage and looking for excuses like he didn't take out the trash, I mean, my goodness sakes, it's like that's to me, that is misery looking for an excuse.
Well, she's creating her own worst nightmare. If she leaves the marriage and she's alone, her complaint right now is that she's alone. Yeah. So she doesn't make it better by leaving the marriage, but she gets away from that person. This is avoidance. And so now you'll just avoid any disappointments. You'll avoid any feeling sad or bad because another person didn't live up to your expectation by simply removing yourself and being alone. I think walking through How We Love and learning how to have a comfort circle, a deeper level conversation where she gets down to the root of why she's concerned about what she's concerned about could be helpful for her.
Yeah. And I would...
But should I be asking her these questions or going through the book? I'm single, and I'm just trying to figure out why is she calling me? I'm single.
Well, I think she's calling you because she's looking for an excuse. See, my friend Jacqui, she's single and she's happy and she's satisfied. And so my life will be so much better when I'm single.
Yep, that's why she's calling you. She's calling you because you're single. Her married friends would tell her how to work on her marriage. Yeah. You can't do that.
Well, and most importantly, I think, Jacqui, there's something that is being missing here, and your friend isn't working on herself. Again, and this is what I'll go back to. I'll point to this. There's a line in Scripture that says, contentment is of great worth or value. Now, if I don't have internal contentment, if I'm not content within myself, if I can't find a sense of peace or satisfaction or even happiness, and everyone else is responsible for that, and they don't fulfill that, then they become the problem, not me. But if she goes single, she's going to just find herself in the exact same situation, looking for something else in her life to point to that is the cause of her misery, instead of getting to the source of it, which is something going on inside of her.
And if she goes single at this point without doing work on herself, she may find herself bitter and resentful of her husband, forever, because she doesn't have to then work on her stuff. She's just going to be single, and it's his fault.
Yeah, he gets to be the perpetual scapegoat.
Well, if she doesn't stop and look at her responses and reactions to him and her dissatisfaction with her life, not just her marriage, she's not going to make a difference.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you for being such a great friend and chatting with her and wanting the best for her, and knowing that you may be out of your scope. You might be, this is deeper water, or it's above your pay grade, whichever one of those metaphors or analogies you want to pick. But thank you for thinking of her and wanting to be able to give her right responses.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful thing. We talk about friendship and connections all the time. What book should we send her?
I think How We Love.
Okay, that's what we will do. The two of you, we're going to continue taking calls in this next hour, but so if you're on the line, hold on. But before we close the show out, I want both of you to just give an encouragement for someone who may be thinking about coming to emotional freedom. What's something that they are going to learn that they're going to be able to accomplish in a day on an online intensive?
I think one of the things that they're going to be able to learn is the place that they're stuck in right now is an actual thing that has a story and a reason behind it. That a lot of times that we're stuck in this place and we've tried so many different things and it's remained so mysterious and so frustrating. And what we're going to provide for you is clarity on what that thing is holding your life back. And then we're going to provide you a pathway to move through and get to the other side of it.
Yeah, the steps. You're going to find the steps to deal with the issues. You're going to learn some information about trauma, what it looks like, how it shows up in the body, and how do we navigate through it. Because the stuck place, you're only in the stuck place because we stop moving through it, right? We shove it down and we're not going to think about it, and all those things that just leave us stuck. The only way through is through. So you have to keep moving forward. And the Emotional Freedom Workshop will really help you learn how to do that. And it's the community that you gain being in Emotional Freedom Workshop, I think, is priceless.
Yeah, those small groups, everybody says, oh, I don't know about that. It's actually the highlight of our intensives. People say, I can't even believe that in just such a short time we bonded and I felt seen, I felt heard. And it really is a part of our values here at New Life. We want you to know the power of connection and the power of community. If that is something that you desire in your own life, to have freedom in your emotions, not be stuck, join us at Emotional Freedom Online this Saturday, and we'll get you connected. You can go to newlife.com or call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Jacqui. Thank you, listeners. If you're on hold on. We'll get right to you, but we're so grateful to be able to connect with you and to provide help and hope. Thanks again.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Thanks for watching today. We love helping people. I hope you sense that. And we know that there's always hope if you find the right resource. Now, if something we've said to somebody else applies to you, that's fantastic. That's what we're hoping for. But also, if you want to join us directly, you can call 1-800-229-3000 between 1 and 3 Eastern Time, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Those are the best times to get through. And while you're here on YouTube, check out these other videos that we've done to help people see where they could grow or a different path to take. And if you do that, would you give us a thumbs up on the video, and please subscribe to this channel. There are many ways that we can help you outside of the radio program, and it's very hard for some to pick up a phone and dial 1-800-NEW-LIFE, but when you do, we put you in touch with somebody who cares about you, knows all the resources out there, and they're going to find the best for you. There is no reason to struggle alone. I hope to see you tomorrow. Hope you'll invite somebody else to come and join that maybe needs just a little bit of help along the way. I'll see you next time.